went through on Thursday night, but there was other zaniness. The Washington Capitals entertained the Pittsburgh Penguins in Game 1 of the second round of the Stanley Cup playoffs. Ed Frankovic joins us now to discuss what was, we keep going on and on and on and on again, and those who laugh at Capitals fans, call it Groundhog Day, man, right? I mean, because blowing 2-0 leads at home again and again and again, it's really hard to do, man. I haven't seen it happened a whole lot, the way this team has managed to do it a lot over the last 2 weeks, Eddie.
It was very, very disappointing finish to Game 1, and the Capitals really played well, I thought, for the first 41, 42 minutes, and they got that 2-0 lead on Ovechkin's goal, and I would have liked to have seen them make a tactic switch at that point. I would have liked to have seen them go to the style they played when they won in Pittsburgh, to clinch the division a few weeks back, which would have been to clog the neutral zone and the blue line and make Pittsburgh have to go through them. For some reason, the Capitals chose to stay in the rush game with them, and it burnt them. And it was really a kind of a fluky bounce that Pittsburgh always seems to get against the Capitals that kind of turn the game around, a double deflection in front. But again, I give Pittsburgh credit for going in the front of the net and getting that. But I didn't like the style once they got ahead. And once again, the Capitals squandered chances early in the game to really make it a bigger lead, and Pittsburgh gets hot, and Sidney Crosby and Jake Gensel take over the game with a little bit of help from Patrick Hornquist. Matt Murray shuts the door down the stretch, and the Capitals give away a game they should have won. There's no two bones about it. It should be 1-0 Capitals. Instead, they're chasing the series, and the ghosts of Penguins past are going to be in their heads for a couple days.
You know what's crazy is that, as I sit here, my wife and I have some plans, over the next couple of weeks, or at least soft plans, and my wife's health's always, first and foremost. And, I look at games 6 and 7 and say, do I need to plan around them? Do I need to plan for them, against them? Obviously, last year I went to all these games. I don't want to say I was more enthused last year than this year. I'm just more busy this year, right? Like, just more things are in the way. The draft fell on the night of Game 1. My wife's health's been an issue the last couple of weeks, so some games I haven't made it out to. Other games I'd like to make it to. I've, planned my life around them. And then I looked at the way the schedule came out and, how difficult it was. I'm going to be at Game 2 on Sunday, as are you. So we'll be sitting together on Sunday afternoon figuring this out. But no matter how well they play, no matter how much of a lead or where it is, I've been doing this long enough, going back to, Dale Hunter and Rod Langway and the 80s group with our friendship through all the years. And I have no thought, even when they lose in horrific fashion, that they're going to lose this series in 4 games or 5 games. It never works out that way. This thing always, you say they're chasing the series and bad things are going to happen. They're going to win a game in Pittsburgh. They just are. I think they're going to win on Sunday. They've proven to be almost as resilient as Pittsburgh. And, I'm not myopic about it. I don't think that they're going to win the series. But when you watch them play for 40 minutes the way they did in Game 1, and you see them play some shutdown, play the way, as you pointed out a couple of weeks ago, one of the reasons Grubauer, was involved to begin with in the last series because of how well he played in Pittsburgh a couple weeks ago. They'll come back. They'll go toe-to-toe. This thing will be 3-2. Somebody will be leading going to Game 6, and, they went up there and blew them out in front of Mike Tomlin, and, we went up there last year for that. I know there's going to be a Game 6 and a 7. I don't know how we're going to get there, but I have some faith in that much that even though they gave Game 1 away, and I'm fully in line with you, Eddie, they gave it away. I don't think it precludes them from winning the thing in 7 games, or 6 games for that matter.
Well, I mean, you've been cautiously optimistic this whole playoffs, and I think you should stick with that.
I'm numb, dude. I'm Braden Holtby. I don't get high. I don't get low. I don't, throw things when they're blowing leads and when, Crosby pokes one in. I'm just sort of like, I try to think like if I'm on the bench, right, and I've been involved in this and I'm John Carlson or I'm Ovechkin, you're like, all right, we'll live another day the way we did last year. We kicked their ass in Game 6, and this year we'll get them. And I don't know that anybody's feeling sorry for themselves Friday and Saturday in the Capitals camp. I think they might be pissed at themselves. There might be some disappointment, but I don't see this team not responding on Sunday. I've been watching this too long. I watched them lose 2 that they shouldn't have lost to Columbus, and then come back and win the series in 6. So I'm not down on them, but I'm also, this can't keep happening, right? I mean, and having guys disappear in the third period, that's no way to go at home, man.
Yeah, I think concern is a fair word. I think every Capitals fan is concerned because they see them play a quality game for 40 minutes, and even the start of the third period, and bing, bang, boom, 3 goals in 5 minutes, and it's a loss. And you have that terrible, awful, here we go again. They get the bounce, we don't get the bounce. I mean, Kuznetsov's right there. I mean, Backstrom's right there at the side of the net at the end of that power play late in the game, and Kuznetsov puts it right there, and it hops over his stick. I mean, that puck hits Hornqvist's stick and goes in, right? You get that feeling, right? It's that feeling of doom, and you just seen it so many times, Caps Penguins, and it's going to take a Jacoby Jones moment. It's going to have to, Ness, for them to find a way to get over the hump against Pittsburgh, because it just seems like the demons are so against them. I thought Hope played.
Well, you don't need a Jacoby Jones moment unless you're behind.
That's true, and now they're chasing the series again, right? And if you look back at that Ravens Super Bowl run, they were behind in a lot of those games, and certainly against Denver, certainly against New England, they were way ahead against the 49ers, but they came back in those games. But that's an individual game. This is a series, and a 7-game series, and it's not boom and it happens. It's you have to digest it and continue to go on. But as Coach Strotz told us a few weeks ago, or about last month, I guess, out at Michael's Cafe, he said, there's moments in the series where you think you're done, and all of a sudden, boom, something happens, and you have life. And that happened in round 1 with the Holtby coming in and making some huge saves in the first overtime in Game 3, and they get a lucky bounce off Eller's skate because Connolly shot the puck. Pittsburgh got the bounces, but I can't fault them. They throw the puck on net, and you're going to get bounces if you put bodies and pucks on net. You're going to get bounces, and the Capitals just need to do more of that. So they need to get that bounce. They need to get a win. They need to win a game on home ice. They do not, for whatever it is, these last couple of years on home ice, they don't play smart hockey at times. They get the lead, and they think they need to keep playing that end-to-end rush game instead of doing what they do on the road. Simplify, lock it down, make the other team go 200 feet to beat you. They're 3-0 on the road for a reason, and the Penguins are 4-0 on the road in these playoffs. So they won all 3 in Philadelphia. They won the first game in Washington. They won 3 or 4 in Washington last year. Penguins feel pretty good about themselves on the road, even without Evgeny Malkin and without Carl Hagelin. They won't have Hagelin for Game 2. I have to think Malkin's probably going to play Game 2, though.
Well, at some point, this is where the series turns, right? Like, if they don't play well in Game 2, then we're talking about a real uphill slope, much like we were 10 days ago. So, I keep going back to them playing well enough to, I guess, outside the Caps community, they'd say we're getting teased, right? Like, because they did look so dominant. They do look so good for stretches. They're almost a streaky hockey team, right? Like, period to period. I don't know if you know what you're going to get. I know people came down on Holtby as well late in the game, that he also wasn't very good late in the game, Ed.
Yeah, but he had a really good first part of the game. I mean, I'll fault him on the third goal, and that was a giveaway by himself, throwing it up the board. So probably not a smart decision. The first goal, they had 2 guys in front and it tipped it, right? It's hard to blame him on that one. The second goal, maybe he could have had, but again, the puck goes right through Ovechkin. Ovechkin's right there. I mean, in round 1, I talked about him not being in the proper spot on Pierre-Luc Dubois' goal that ended up tying the game up in Game 2. Well, Ovechkin's in the right spot there, but he goes through. I don't know how it gets through his skate or his stick. Maybe it's Ovi's just not good at defense, but he's there to take that pass, and he gets enough of it to actually put it in a perfect spot for Crosby to one-time it. So, people are not happy with Holtby on that goal, but it's Sidney Crosby, for Greg's sakes, all alone from the circle. One of the best players, if not the best player in the game.
Well, you can't let that pass happen. You can't let that pass go tape to tape. And right, Ovechkin was in the way, but not enough in the way. And look, Smith-Pelly was on the doorstep. I mean, Stevenson had a clear shot at one point to win the game. I thought Kempney played pretty well and set some things up at various points. I thought Carlson was, not as good as I want him to be at various points. And I thought some of their clearing wasn't very good. And I thought Holtby was sloppy at getting the puck out. And that's a team there, dude. When you get sloppy defensively, they're going to get another opportunity or 2 or 3 on you because of your mistake. Now, whether they cash in or not, that remains to be seen. But when you give the puck away, they're going to shoot the puck, and they're going to shoot it on net, and they're going to control it. And there were times where it felt like in the third period that the Caps were playing shorthanded when they weren't. It was weird.
Yeah, I just didn't understand the strategy at all in the third period. And once Ovechkin scored, I would have immediately gone to the strategy they employed in Pittsburgh. Like I said, stack the neutral zone, have one guy forecheck, stack the neutral zone and the blue line, make them have to work for their goals, played for counterattacks, because that's how the Capitals scored both their goals on rush goals. They had a Kuznetsov breakaway and a 2-on-1 that Ovechkin finishes. Let's go. Let's lock it down and play that way. I would have made sure Backstrom's line was matched up against Crosby's line. Somehow the first 2 goals, it's Ovechkin's line against Crosby's line at that point. I don't like that. I don't like that matchup. Now, granted, Backstrom's line was on for the game-winning goal against Crosby's line, but the Penguins are high skill. If you turn the puck over, they're not Columbus is a hard-working team, but they don't have the high skill. They had Panarin. But you're talking about Gensel. You're talking about Kessel. You're talking about Crosby. Hornqvist is the guy that's going to go to the net and get the tips. And they didn't have Malkin. They didn't have Hagelin. But they have so many guys, Connor Sheary, so many guys that are quick strike capability. You just can't make those mistakes. You can't give them those opportunities. And I tweeted this before the game went Pittsburgh way, that the Capitals can't get caught up in a rush game. And they got caught up in the rush game, and Holtby said as much after the game. He says, we got too much into playing their style of game. They have to play Capitals type of road game. If you're going to get the lead, then you got to lock it down. You got to clog the neutral zone and clog the blue line. Make the Penguins have to throw the puck deep. Don't allow them to come in with their skill and do their cutbacks and find their guys streaking to the net because they have too much speed. You have to really clog that neutral zone and blue line up.
It's funny, like when you're stopping the shots in the first period and the second period, you don't feel the power of Gensel or of Crosby. And when you're stonewalling them, you're like, hey, that was their big opportunity. There's always going to be another opportunity for those guys later in the game. And as quietly as it was, early in the game where they couldn't buy a goal either. And quite frankly, the Capitals could have been up 3-0, 4-0 early in the game. I mean, Capitals had a lot of great opportunities. Nobody scored in the second period. I mean, it was one of those games where you looked up and it's the third period, it's 1-0, and it could have been 4-0 or 4-1 or something like that, and it's not. And you never have the Penguins or any team in the second round of the playoffs, whether it was the Rangers a couple of years ago, the Canadiens, whoever it is, it's never over when it's a one-goal game, man. Like, it's just, and you get lulled to sleep a little bit. Then Ovechkin comes out while the Penguins are asleep and puts the real pressure on them, and it was almost like poking a bear or something after that goal, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I love the way that Tom Wilson made great plays on both goals to get the puck to Ovechkin and then Ovechkin to Kuznetsov on the first, and then Ovechkin looked Orlov off and just rifled at top shelf. And then Holtby, you look at Holtby made a big save right out of the gate against Crosby to start the game. So I just don't like the trading chances game with Pittsburgh because they have too much skill. They have such high-end skill. You start trading chances, it reminds me of the game they played up in Pittsburgh in January when I think it was like 4-4 going in the third, and Pittsburgh just lit them up with 3 goals in the third. That was game 1. The Capitals decided to play their game, and you can't do that. They have to do what they did when they won the division up there, which is lock it down. You just have to be responsible. You have to make them go through checks, and they just give them too much time and space. And Ovechkin was in the lane on Crosby's tying goal, but again, that's a rush goal, right? They're coming in with too much speed. You have to find a way to throttle their speed, and that's what the focus has to be on game 2.
Score when you get an opportunity and don't give them the puck and don't let them come up and set up shop. And by all means, don't take stupid penalties, and there wasn't a lot of that. And, I mean, gosh, the second period of the game, I think the first 11 minutes were played in about 11 minutes. I mean, I don't think the puck ever went out of play. It was a very, very fast hockey game, and I know that from watching the draft, right? I mean, the draft was on at the same time, and you're trying to monitor it. The draft was kind of going pretty quickly as well, and the trades and all the flurry of all that, but I mean the game got over early. Really the opportunity that they had there when Gensel went out, that was a real chance, and you didn't take advantage of that, and they didn't. And I guess, at that point, setting up shop and getting the goal that would have put them ahead would have been the difference maker there. And, Gensel got it. We'll get back after it, dude. It's game 2. It's always a long series, dude. I'm not making alternate plans for game 6s and 7s, right? I mean, I believe there will be a game on game 6 after we go to the Derby day and do that game 5s after the Derby. Game 6 is on the Monday, and then game 7 will be on Wednesday. My schedule's clear for the next 10 days, Eddie.
Well, they certainly need to win Sunday. I mean, I think 0-2 is disaster again. I don't think you can do that like you did last year against Pittsburgh or last series against Columbus. I think they have to win on Sunday, and I think they have to, again, it's playing the right way. And you talk about the 11 minutes fast. That's the type of game Pittsburgh wants to play. Yeah, the Capitals were doing okay in it. They're in the second period, but the Capitals really benefit from a slowed down game. So it's going to be on Holtby's need to just maybe freeze a few pucks. Capitals maybe get a few offensive zone face-off. Just try and slow the game down and make them have to work. And I felt like it was too easy for Pittsburgh. I felt like they had too much room, too much open space, too much skating, and that's definitely the style that will favor the Penguins, and will get the Capitals in big trouble.
All right, we'll see about Malkin. We'll see about all that as we gather for Game 2. It's 3 p.m. on Sunday, and, of course, the Orioles are home all weekend. We got things happening around here, including our friends at the Modell Lyric next Thursday night. That's the night of Game 4. I think I'm going to be at the Modell Lyric with Jackson Brown. I love me some Jackson Brown. That's Modell-Lyric.com, our WNST partner all year long here. We're talking about Steely Dan and Kansas coming into the fall as well as doing a bunch of interviews. We had Britt Floyd last week, and they played on Thursday night down there as well. Baltimore Brigade are home this weekend. The Albany Empire at 3 p.m. on Saturday at the Royal Farms Arena. Then, of course, next Friday night, Philadelphia Soul come to town. Ron Jaworski's going to join us next week to do a little post-draft wrap. It's going to be interesting to hear what he has to say. He's business partners with Joe Flacco on a golf course up in Philadelphia. He's bringing the Philadelphia Soul down to take on the Brigade. That is next Friday night down at the Royal Farms Arena. Nasty at WNST.net reaches me. I'm on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Snapchat, Instagram, streaming live on our Facebook as well as our YouTube WNSTV channel. We are WNST.net, AM 1570, and WNST Towson, Baltimore, and we never stop talking Baltimore sports.